He had the kind of voice that could lift you off the ground. A soaring tenor, full of power and pain, that made Boston's music unforgettable. Brad Delp was the man behind the microphone, the sound of a generation. But behind that iconic voice was a man quietly drowning in heartbreak, shame, and a devastating secret no one saw coming. When news of Brad Delp's suicide broke in March of 2007, fans were shocked. How could someone so talented, so kind, so seemingly gentle, have ended his life in such a tragic way? Fingers were pointed, most notably at Tom Scholz, Boston's founder and mastermind. But Scholz pointed to someone else. Someone closer. And the story that followed wasn't just tragic, it was unthinkable. In this deep dive, we explore the life, legacy, and devastating final chapter of Brad Delp. A man whose music lifted millions, even as he fell silently into despair. Bradley Edward Delp was born on June 12, 1951, in Peabody, Massachusetts. He was the son of French-Canadian immigrants and grew up in a modest home. From a young age, Brad was drawn to music, not for fame or fortune, but for the emotional release it gave him. In high school, he joined local bands and caught the attention of guitarist Barry Goudreau. Through Goudreau, Brad met Tom Scholz, an MIT graduate and musical perfectionist. The chemistry was instant. What followed was the formation of Boston, a band that would redefine rock in the late 1970s. Boston's debut album dropped in 1976, and it exploded. With hits like More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, and Foreplay/Long Time, the album became one of the best-selling debut albums in history. Brad's voice was the centerpiece. Critics and fans alike couldn't get enough. His high-register vocals, filled with raw emotion, became Boston's signature sound. But success brought pressure. Tom Scholz was a notorious perfectionist. Creative tensions grew. Albums took years to release. Band members came and went. Brad often found himself caught in the middle, pulled between loyalty and frustration. While the world saw a rock icon, those close to Brad saw a man struggling. He was deeply sensitive, kind to a fault, and avoided conflict. But he was also intensely private. Depression crept in silently. Brad's marriage ended in divorce. He often questioned his place in the band, and by the 1990s, he had distanced himself from the chaos of Boston. He played in Beatles tribute bands and sought peace in smaller projects. But something inside him remained unsettled. In the months leading up to his death, Brad seemed unusually withdrawn. He was preparing to marry his longtime partner, but something was off. He left behind a series of heartbreaking suicide notes, apologizing to family, friends, and fans. One note read simply, "I am a lonely soul." At first, the media focused on tensions with Tom Scholz. Lawsuits followed. Scholz was accused of bullying Delp and creating a toxic environment. But Scholz pushed back, pointing to a different source of Brad's pain, a devastating incident involving his fiancée's sister. According to police reports, Brad had installed a hidden camera in the bathroom of the sister of his fiancée. When the incident was discovered, he was deeply ashamed. He confessed. He was not arrested, but the shame consumed him. He felt he had failed everyone, his fiancée, her family, his own children, and his fans. Brad's friend said he spiraled into guilt and despair, believing he could never recover from the disgrace. The pressure, the sadness, the regret, it all became too much. It wasn't Tom Scholz who broke him. It was Brad himself, haunted by a moment he couldn't take back. Despite the pain of his final chapter, Brad Delp's legacy isn't one of shame, it's one of brilliance. He gave the world music that still echoes through stadiums and stereos. His voice was a bridge between emotion and melody. And even in his darkest moments, he remained a gentle soul. His story is a reminder that mental illness doesn't always look like despair. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it sings. And sometimes, it hides behind the brightest spotlight. Brad Delp left behind more than sorrow, he left behind music that mattered. That healed. that lifted spirits. And perhaps in sharing his story, we can learn to listen not just to the music, but to the quiet cries behind it. If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below. What's your favorite Boston song? And how do you remember Brad Delp? Let's keep his voice, and his memory, alive.